Hey everybody, this is Jason. Actually, this is more like homeless zombie collector Jason. I haven't shaved in a day or so, and so I'm starting to look like a little homeless person. But that's not what you came here for. You came here for Ray from Philly's 1,000 subscriber contest giveaway extravaganza bonanza. So I poured over the records. I went through the vaults of history. I checked underneath every nook and cranny, rock, stone, everywhere to get this list. Now, I'm an extravagant, eccentric dude, and I'm aware of that. So, a lot of the names on this list are not going to probably be on other people's lists, and that's okay. And I purposely did not watch anybody's video because I did not want to be influenced by everybody else's great and well thought out responses. Even though mine is as equally as great and thought out, if I do say so myself, I'm not going to get down into like the history of everybody and their statistics. If you really are wanting to get that deep with it, by far, by all means, go and do that. This is just a list of people I think that are the best at each position. That's what the giveaway response was. He wanted you to do 12 spots, infield, outfield, pitcher, left and right-handed pitcher, and closer, left and right-handed closer. So it was actually kind of difficult because I never have done some of those as far as that intense with the pitching. So I went through and I did my utmost best, and I will just read them off. I might share a little bit about them maybe from my perspective, but I'm not going to get, like I said, really deep into it because there's a lot of these responses. I'm sure, Ray, you don't want to sit here and watch 30 minutes of somebody talking about each player. So with that being said, we'll jump right into it. I will preface this by saying, aside from one of these players, I believe, maybe two, I've never really saw play live, either on TV or in person. Most of them, my criteria has always been players that I can actually have seen with my own eyes, either on TV or in person. I understand the statistics speak for themselves. The historical, videos we have of Babe Ruth and Willie Mays and all that stuff play. I never saw those guys play. I'm not taking a single solitary thing away from those guys. They are Hall of Famers. They are the best. They are the greatest. I am not saying those things at all. However, I will use my caveat here and say, I enjoy watching players that I saw with my own eyes. I got to watch their careers develop through the years and see them go from a rookie to Hall of Famer or a future Hall of Famer or at least stud. Because some of these guys are not Hall of Famers that I have on my list, actually. But there are two guys I think I never really saw play on TV. Maybe three now that I think about it. But and that's it. Everybody else I have seen play, and that's my criteria. I know that's not probably a common perspective because everybody's going to be picking Hoyt Wilhelm and Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth and Ty Cobb and all that stuff. None of us have seen those guys play. Not a single one of us has seen any of those guys ever play. So to me, it's just going through stats and saying statistically they're the best. I just don't do that. With all that being said, I'm meandered long enough. Let's get into it. So the first one is Ted Williams. With all that being said, obviously I never saw him play. The best left fielder by far as hitting, his defense. I don't think there's anybody questioning that his defense was fine. I can't think of anybody saying his defense was weak. But his offense is what I'm really talking about here. I mean, amazing. And then he gave up, 5 years of his career to be in the military? I mean, just think about his numbers if he didn't do that. So Ted Williams is in left field by far. Second base, Joe Morgan. Obviously, I caught him towards the end in the early 80s. But now obviously didn't see him playing his prime. But Joe Morgan is another one of those guys. Second baseman. With Big Red Machine, if it wasn't for Joe Morgan, they would have not been as successful as they were. And so, the Reds I'm saying here. And so Joe Morgan is my second baseman. Probably one of the best second basemen, if not the best ever, to play the position. For center field, the kid, Ken Griffey Jr. I can honestly say I watched King Griffey Jr. from the time he hit the big show in '89 all the way to the end. Now, I didn't watch him play with my own eyes in the early '90s and things, but when he got to Cincinnati, I watched him play a handful of times. It was super cool. Now, of course, he's towards the end of his career at that point, but it was cool to see that sweet swing, hitting those home runs. It was awesome. My right-handed pitcher starter is Greg the Professor Maddux. By far, again, I got to see him pitch in person and also obviously throughout his career, coming up in '87, I believe. And then he played all the way through, I don't know, 2005 or 6, I think, maybe a little further into that. But, I mean, the thing about Greg Maddux, I know I've mentioned this before, is that he did not have overpowering stuff. He beat you by being smarter than you at the plate, and that's how he beat you. Maybe that's how he got the name Professor, makes sense. But he did not go up there and throw 95, 98 miles per hour fastballs. He knew location, he knew placement, he knew who he was facing, he probably knew who his catcher was going to be, he was going to know who the umpire was. He just knew all those things to get the best results. And the results are Hall of Famer Greg Maddux. Next, at shortstop, Barry Larkin. Barry Larkin, I feel like, is overshadowed at shortstop by so many other players. And rightfully so, I don't know. And it's not because I'm a homer here. It's not because of the history I have with Barry Larkin. It's because I truly believe when you look at his stats compared to everybody else, he's one of the best shortstops ever to play the game. Not only that, he won a World Series with the Reds, a team that nobody expected to win anything. And he was by far one of the stars on that team in the 1990 Reds team, in which I got to see play in the 90s, as well as throughout his career. I got to see him play, though, in 1990. So that was really cool to see him on the rise that year, to see them go on. I think they beat the Oakland A's, if I'm not mistaken. So, no, sorry, Tony, about that. I know that's probably raw for you still, but anyways. So Barry Larkin at shortstop. My right-handed closer, it'll probably throw some people off, is Lee Smith. Now, I remember watching Lee Smith pitch for the Chicago Cubs throughout the 80s, it feels like, and maybe in the early 90s even. I'm not 100% for sure, but as far as the time frame. But it seemed like every time I turned on the TV, WGN was always on, showing a day game for Cubs. And whenever they needed somebody, they sent out Lee Smith. Lee Smith was lights out. I think he ended up close with 400 saves. Now, I know that's not compared to Mariano Rivera, and I understand that, or Trevor Hoffman. Mariano Rivera, yeah, definitely the Sandman, without a doubt. When he came out, you're feeling like it's over. I never really felt that way with Trevor Hoffman. I'm underwhelmed by him, even being in the Hall of Fame. But when I think of Lee Smith throwing that heat with the Chicago Cubs, I don't think, if I was a batter, I would not want to go against him if the game was on the line. My left-handed pitcher starter is Randy Big Unit Johnson, the Bird Killer, a.k.a. the Bird Killer. I mean, he threw so fast, he eviscerated a bird. So, I mean, if that tells you anything, I mean, what's the guy like? He's like 6'10", so he's already halfway to the plate before the ball even was released from his hand. I mean, where I was talking about Greg Maddux was a surgeon up there, Randy Johnson just threw fast. And not that he didn't throw accurately, and not that he didn't know what he was doing. By far, that's not what I'm saying. But he was throwing smoke. And I never saw him pitch live. I did see him pitch a lot in the World Series, and watch him pitch a lot in his regular games. And, I mean, again, he came out in '89 with Griffey Jr., I believe. He started out in '89, and he went all the way to the mid-aughts as well. And, I mean, he was a dominating pitcher to the end. I even believe he ended his career with the Giants and got his 300th win with the Giants, if I'm not mistaken, or something. I mean, he's just an absolute beast out there. I mean, he never smiled. He never, act like he liked you. He was kind of like Bob Gibson, I think. He kind of just was like, when he was in there, when you're in that batter's box, you were not his friend. And he just, like, every time he threw from the mound, it was like he wanted to try and kill you. I would be scared. My first baseman might also be kind of a surprise for some people. somebody else I never really saw play a lot, if at all, and even not on TV. I think his career pretty much ended before I was in the picture. Right at the end was Rod Carew at first base. He's another one of those underestimated or just not very unappreciated Hall of Famers. I mean, if you look at his numbers, I think his lifetime batting average was like 318 or something like crazy like that. And everybody talks about Tony Gwynn and Ted Williams as far as some of the best pure hitters out there. But Rod Carew was a fantastic hitter, fantastic fielder as well. I mean, he had longevity. He was like 18 years in the big leagues or something like that. I mean, he was just awesome. I think it was because he played, with the Minnesota Twins most of his career, if not all his career. I'm not for sure if that's accurate or not. But, maybe it was because he played with the Twins that he never really got the accolades that he should have. It was a small market, so that might have something to do with it. But Rod Carew is my first baseman. My left-handed closer is Aroldis Chapman. Now, he still has probably a handful of years left in him, but I've seen him pitch a handful of times, and no one, absolutely no one, is better than him as a closer as left-handed. I mean, this guy is throwing just ping pong balls up there. I mean, it is so fast. I don't even see how people even get a hit off of him. And it must be when he's not throwing a fastball. It must be if he's trying to throw some kind of junk up there. I don't know. I mean, this man, I saw him this past year playing with the Yankees. And, I mean, you don't even see the ball. And it's nighttime. And the ball's white against a black night drop. Backdrop. That's the word I was looking for. And it just, you don't even see it. It is unreal how fast he throws. And he's already at close. He's over 200 saves, I think, now. So the chance of him getting to 300 or maybe even 400 is definitely realistic. I don't know if it's possible. It's possible, maybe not realistic is what I should be going for there. But Chapman would be my left-handed pitching closer. For my catcher, not a surprise, Johnny Bench. Not going to say much about Johnny Bench. It hasn't already been said. I do remember some vague memories of him playing in the early 80s when I was like 6, 7 years old. That's about it. But again, Johnny Bench, probably the best catcher ever. I will say Berra and Piazza's up there probably as well, but still Johnny Bench, in my opinion, just with a big red machine, was the best. My third baseman is another pure hitter, great hitter, and 80s icon, Wade Boggs. I think he's another underappreciated. Everybody thinks of like Cal Ripken Jr. and the human vacuum cleaner, Brooks Robinson, and rightfully so. But Wade Boggs, in my opinion, got to see him play many times, was definitely, if not the best, one of the best at third base. But mostly just because of his batting. I mean, he was just outstanding at the plate. Again, Wade Boggs. And last, and certainly not least, is, I'm sure all y'all will be not at all surprised that I'm picking this player as my right fielder. Ichiro Suzuki. In my opinion, which doesn't get me much except maybe a cup of coffee with 2 cents or whatever, is that he is the hit king as far as I'm concerned. I know it doesn't count as far as with Pete Rose, but I think we all were honest. If he was here his entire career, he would easily have beaten Pete Rose's record. But he is by far the best right fielder. I don't even understand how people don't consider him the best right fielder. I mean, go back and look at him just playing right field. Let's just take his hitting out of the equation. I mean, he put his life and body on the line every single game. He played every game like it was Game 7 of the World Series, bottom of the 9th. He never did anything halfway. He never jogged around. He never, meandered in the outfield, possibly getting the ball. I mean, he was just raking it out there. I mean, any ball in the vicinity he was getting. He was throwing people out. He was causing people not to run. He was just tracking each ball down, putting his body on the line, just running into stuff. I mean, just absolutely outstanding. I mean, on the base paths, he's still in bases the first like almost 10 years, 6, 7 years, whatever. He was a threat on the bases. And then at the bat, at the end, on the bat, I mean, hits, 200 hit seasons, 10 years in a row, 10 years straight. Every year for 10 years, 200 hit season plus. Then we're talking about just the way he got on base. I mean, he stretched. He was like, him and Vladimir Guerrero would take like a little dinker, a little ball, and just make something happen of it. Just put it anywhere except where the player was at. The position player was at. I mean, he was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I don't understand people don't give him more love. And it's not because I'm blinded with Ichiro Suzuki refractor sunglasses or anything like that. I just don't understand. I truly don't understand that he doesn't get more love out there. He's by far the best right fielder ever to play the game. And I just want to make sure I put him on the list. Obviously, I'm not going to never not put him on the list in right field. So anyways, with that being said, that is my list of the top players in those positions, in my humble opinion. Ray from Philly, thank you for putting this on. I've loved doing it. I love doing the little research and trying to like learn a little bit of each player, learn something different every time. And congratulations on 1,000 subscribers, dude. That's awesome. I'm right behind you at about 130 something. So I mean, I'm right there, breathing down your neck. So don't get too panicky. I will give us a little bit more of a buffer so you don't get too concerned that I'm right there on you. But until next time, man, you take care. Congratulations to you again, Ray. And I look forward to see who the winner is. And now I can see everybody else's response. So love each other, guys. Support each other. Respect each other. Until next time, peace out.